you that I think I kind of know you all, but I don't know you that well. So just go around the room, your name, your preferred pronouns, and if you want, I think it's probably pertinent because you all work in the field, just kind of say a little bit about that too.
Cool. Okay. Brooke Pouliot, Community Outreach Specialist for Barre City Police Department. And in this meeting, the city liaison, she, her pronouns.
Cool. Osa Bush, they, them pronouns, street outreach with Good Samaritan Haven. And, I'm also their health and safety person, mostly COVID though, and vaccinations and all that fun stuff. And I'm also a community health worker. I can give you more, but I won't give them right now.
You do COVID vaccinations?
I don't personally, but we reach out sometimes to people's health and wellness.
So we have COVID vaccines if you need one, so. We do, yeah. You can come in tomorrow if you want and get a COVID vaccine.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
Okay,
All
yep,
right.
yep. I think anytime 9 to 5 should be fine, so, yeah.
Does it have blue?
No, I've got one. I got it.
So, Dan Barlow, he, him pronouns, lived in Barre City for 10 years now. And I'm the director of the People's Health and Wellness Clinic, and a lot of our patients are unhoused.
Maybe Ann?
Yeah, Ann, you wanna go?
All right, so I'm Ann Merrill. I'm the Adult Access Housing Coordinator for Washington County Mental Health. I've been working in the homeless field for over 10 years now. She, her, sorry I'm not there. I had called into work, so I'm working tonight. I actually work 2 separate jobs. I work as
Oh.
Housing Coordinator for Washington County Mental Health, and then I work in one of our group homes.
Oh, thank you for joining
Wow,
us.
yay.
Thanks for doing that.
Thanks, Ann. Kathy Partlow, Downstreet Housing and Community Development. I am their Director of Homeless Services, and prior to that, I was at the Center for 10 years, so, and doing similar types of work. She, her pronouns. What else was I supposed to say? That's it, right?
Yeah, you're good.
I'm all set.
Thank you.
And I'm Tess Taylor, and I'm the homelessness and housing liaison for the city of Barre. And for the purposes of this meeting, I put my homelessness hat on, and I am running along with Earl Cooper Camp, the warming center at the Church of the Good Shepherd, Monday through Friday, 7 to 10, for people to drop in. And working on other issues around homelessness. So for the city, and my pronouns are she, her.
Thank you. Beth Mueller, she, her. I'm a designer. So I don't work in the housing field at all, but it's just been a real kind of passion for me on the volunteer side. I worked at a housing shelter when I was back in my 20s, and ever since we've been in Vermont, we've kind of, done things with Good Samaritan Haven and down at the church with the community. So I thought we should probably spend some time and just think about how we want to set the committee up, like how often we want to meet. How often do we want to meet? We want to meet every month?
I would think at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then, on the city website, they have all of our emails for contact. Is everybody comfortable with that? Or do you think we should come up with a Gmail alias and follow them all through that?
I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah, this is kind of connected with that. I was thinking that if there were some discomfort with that, and I think maybe it might still be a good idea to set us up in Google Workspace
Mhm.
so that we can all have access to the same
Yeah.
documents. So
That
everybody
is true.
thumbs up on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I was thinking about our committee, I mean, the needs are just so vast and so different. I kind of broke down into 2 categories for me, like one directed towards folks who are unhoused, and then the other one kind of directed towards the housing situation in general, and how can we push that conversation forward and make sure that they're hearing our voice, in that. And yeah, how do you all feel about it?
I mean, personally, I'm hoping that we do a lot with our unhoused community. I like the idea of adding housing and housing into that because many of them do want to get into housing. I'm hoping that we'll also like work in, I mean, we have our UCC, I'm just gonna leave it as that because I constantly forget what it stands for. And Montpelier has a task force, and Berlin kind of is on the outskirts of not having a direct thing yet. But they definitely work with their population. And just like slowly trying to incorporate like all of us together because we all, I mean, so I do all of Washington County, and obviously we have some things that we'll want to work just on for Barre so that they have the services that they need. And then there's also like a lot of fear in our community right now of like people living here directly in Barre City or working here in Barre City of what homelessness looks like. Sorry, I use the word homelessness. Most of the folks that I work with are completely okay with that term and are actually less okay with the unhoused term. So you'll probably mostly hear me say homelessness or someone individual that has given me permission to use their name. But yeah, so our population interacts a lot with the larger community that we're also all a part of. And I'd love to start to work with our community of providers and people that live here and people that work here and ease that or help folks understand that like not everyone's scary just because of how they dress or because they're using or they're yelling on the street, that they're people and they started out in a very different world than they are at now. So that's just a little bit of my thoughts.
I think I want to echo what Osa just said. Obviously over the past few weeks, there have been some headlines around folks who are unhoused. I'm part of the Facebook groups for Barre and Montpelier. I see what people are talking about right now. I know I'm kind of worried that it's only a matter of time before a trigger happy person creates a real tragedy in this area. And I think some of the fear does come from not knowing what people are actually doing out there in the community already. And so I wonder if this committee can play the role of helping to inform people in Barre, what is Good Sam doing? What's People's doing? What's the police department doing? What's Downstreet doing? Because often I see, comments, why don't we try this? Why don't we try that? And all these things are being tried and like they're in activity right now. But folks just don't know what's happening. So I wonder if like a series of op-eds or something like that would be, kind of a low hanging fruit to kind of get started and do some education.
I definitely agree with that. I also, I don't dislike the idea of somewhat of a dual focus, but I would really want us to talk about, like actually like unsheltered versus unhoused as well versus homeless, not versus homeless, but versus the unhoused. Because there are aspects of homelessness that are both unhoused, unsheltered, which we're going to definitely talk about, but also those who are sheltered and need sort of an escape route from that as well, including time limits on hotel rooms and all of those things. And so I feel like that's a dual purpose. And then to us talking about how can Barre City potentially assist with that off-ramp, right? Like what, either out of being unsheltered or out of being sheltered, but still homeless as well. And those are the solutions I think that we could present or thoughts we could maybe present to the city.
I forgot to ask if somebody could please take notes.
I'm kind of taking notes
Okay.
already. If someone wants to, like, like after I do it, like give them to whoever and you tweak them however.
Is there a city rule against us using the AI notes that are available on Zoom? Because we can tweak them afterwards, but
Yeah.
they live, we've done that in our W chat meetings and honest to goodness, like. They do a good job of capturing who said what, because when you
Are we
say,
recording? No.
Yeah,
are we recording?
I don't see the recording thing.
oh.
Well, I'll still take notes for this time and then we can always use
No,
that
we
for my
think we
we
future.
have to be
make it
recording.
recorded.
Yeah.
That's required to,
Yeah,
I just
So
can't
if
see.
you
did he-
just use that to hit the escape button, it will not. It will not jog us out. We're just at full screen right now.
yeah.
And sometimes you can see at the top, it's just, it's the view you have set on there right now, which is.
Right.
Just
Single.
highlighting
Yeah.
in one person, which makes sense. But.
Kathy, can you come do it? I'm not the person to be doing that.
Just to make sure.
Oh,
that
here
we're
we go.
recording.
Just, yeah, so
We
just-
are
yeah.
recording.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right,
for-
good.
for top.
And then
Yeah.
there's the AI version where you can actually say, yes, you can take the notes for us, and then it sends the notes to whoever
Okay, and you know how to
started
access
the
it?
meeting.
Do you know how to do that?
Yes, I'd have to
You
look
can-
at it, but we can,
We
Yeah.
can.
we
it
can do this next time.
Yeah, okay.
And set it for that, and then
Alright.
whoever takes a
Yeah,
look
I
at
think
them
this
and
is
sort of
gonna be
says, oh
mostly
yeah,
just
this is it.
housekeeping stuff this
Mhm.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thoughts, Tess?
Oh, I want to have the committee.
Okay,
Actually,
and
talk
yeah,
first.
you wanna jump in with anything?
So yesterday I went to the State House with our, and with our director of Washington County Mental Health CSP program. And I was there because of the meeting for the housing situation. And I was really upset that they spoke about development of housing, but nothing that geared towards the homelessness. And I think we need to be out there with more of our voices. I was very upset because they were talking about the working Americans. Well, what about the ones that are homeless, who want shelter, who are poverty stricken? We need to be advocates for them. I was not impressed.
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and this is where, you know, caring for folks who are unhoused kind of loops back to the housing issue for me, they're just both so completely intertwined. That, we really do have to be a voice, you know, especially like with this 68 million that's rolling in, right?
Mm.
With that disaster relief funding.
Yes.
For housing, and
Yeah.
Mm.
so, this past, you know, ever since we kind of got the committee together. Up until today, I've been talking to anybody who'll talk to me about what their opinion is and what they see as the gaps in our area for folks who are unhoused. And, a lot of them are things that I heard are things that you've already said, destigmatizing. That's a big one, you know, these days, and I'm not on Facebook, so I'm not aware of like the vitriol that's
Yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's been
Well, I
discussed.
know, I should know, and so it's not, it's bad, huh?
It's really bad.
It's really,
It's
really
really bad.
bad.
It's really, yeah.
It's terrifyingly bad. Like so just a very reality fact for 2 seconds. I work, if I may, sorry, I don't wanna
Yeah,
cut you off either.
absolutely.
When I do street outreach, physically, I'm alone. Which if you ever go online, you read like what others do for street outreach and what rules they've tried to follow. The top one on at least 6 around the country all say, do not go alone.
You
And
too.
yeah, yeah, she does too.
Yeah, just put my head down.
And other people do too.
I saw that.
But like you create like a safety net around you. And, but my point was that at this very second, with reading all the comments online and with like looking at the profile pictures of and going through all of their photos, which is creepy, by the way, don't do that, but, or do, but you see like what their lives are like for the comments that they're making, and I am currently more worried about the people that are threatening gun violence on the unhoused and
Yes.
threatening gun violence on the providers than I am of the homeless population, of the people that I work with, that I am very cautious about new interactions with new homeless folks. And like, things are definitely more sketchy in that realm, but a heck of a lot more scary in the realm of people that are threatening gun violence.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, people are openly fantasizing of murdering homeless people.
yeah,
Yeah, that's not an exaggeration.
It's
No,
not.
And putting it out, like,
Yeah,
putting
putting
it
it
out
in.
there.
Yeah.
it's not, and it's also just the whole idea of the people feeling like, even if it's not with weapons, they're still talking a very
Mhm.
vigilante language.
Yes.
And it just, it's really disturbing and scary.
I mean, even one of our hardware stores was advertising on Facebook that they carry mace
Mhm.
right after the assault happened, you know, I mean, not as extreme as some of the stuff, but like, that's where we are, you know, where the
Wow.
downtown hardware store is like, hey, we carry mace and, you know, other protective
Oh my
items.
God. Okay.
Can I ask, like,
Yeah.
what Facebook groups are you guys joining that you're getting?
It's just,
I
you
don't
know,
have that,
Yeah.
like,
I'll send it to you later, Ann, if you want.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, it's Central Vermont 911, the
Yes,
Barre
that's a big
City,
one.
Mhm.
community group, Montpelier Community Group, less so. Those are the main two, is Barre City and Central Vermont 911, but I'm pretty sure it's been
that one's
happening
pretty,
some in
that one's
others.
pretty bad.
That's the super rough.
Which one?
Central Vermont 9.
Yeah, that one's,
Yeah.
That one's really bad. And I think part of the problem with it is not just, okay, people are voicing their opinions. Because for a while there were individuals who maybe had some lived experience, I don't know everybody's history, who would pop in and say, but you don't know what's going on with that person, or you don't know, you know,
Yeah.
all of those things. Like, they were just trying to say, hey, you know, time out, let's.
Yeah.
But even that has gotten less, because those folks are intimidated by all the threats that are out there. It's pretty scary.
Mhm.
Um, Okay, well, back to the list here.
Yeah.
Also daunting.
Yes.
More shelter needed, Julie Bond estimated 100 to 150 more beds.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
in April, you know, probably even more, right? When the hotels
Yes,
wind down.
for sure.
And then when
Um,
flood season hits again.
And then when floods hit again.
And
We
then,
literally
you know,
have floods
after we move beyond the temporary shelter, there's all kinds of housing that's needed, more supportive housing, group homes, recovery homes, family shelter.
And in shelter, yes. Yeah, more support for children and teens. We have a
And
good,
one person brought up, it would be really great to have a mental health medical practice, which it kind of sounds like maybe you're starting to plug that hole a little bit.
So I mean, we're really volunteer based,
Yeah.
so if we have a volunteer who can offer those services, honestly, our last counselor just finished up in this month. After
Yeah.
5 or 6 years with us, and we lost a lot of them during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we're really lacking in that area.
Yeah. Well, no, they were saying that just a medical practice, just like regular medical
Oh, yeah.
practice that knows how to deal with folks with mental health issues.
Yeah, I mean, I will say we were also not in urgent care, like we're by
Right.
appointment only, so we're just not set up to like respond to someone walking in, you know, with a medical emergency, or, you know, being able to go out to a site, you know. That's
me.
Yeah.
I do a ton of medical care to my limit. And then it used to be that I would call Nicole and see what our next steps were, but now I call or text Teal.
Yeah.
And see what better options are, or reach out to like some of the other committees, but
Mhm.
community, whatever.
You know what you mean?
Yeah.
But we have been going up to the hilltop once a month for probably 2-3 years, and probably as long as the program's been going on for, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, those are some really like very lofty goals. There was one question that I got, which I didn't know the answer to, and you probably do, Tess. Does Barre have an emergency response plan?
That's a good question.
I would imagine they do. I think it's
Yeah.
required.
There's been enough
Yeah.
emergencies here.
Yeah. Well, the emergency response person that's supposed to be over all that is Joe Alsworth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
he
I
is for
should
that,
ask
and he's
him.
for the region,
Okay.
some is for the city too.
Well, this was kind of a nuts and bolts thing, like, you know, if and when we have our next flood. How do we get people from Seminary Street up the hill before Maple Avenue
They
gets
have
shut
a-
off?
They have a plan, individual plan for that.
Oh, okay, all
Um,
right.
I
So-
personally go and check every single location I can think of and then some.
But I mean, isn't that too much for one person also?
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yes.
things that are too much for one person, but yes, that is one
Right,
of
so
them.
maybe we could rethink that plan and,
Mhm.
you know, come up with a,
Something that's more robust.
yeah, a
absolutely.
better plan.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, and then.
You just have to be good at it.
Yes. And something that doesn't feel threatening to the folks
Mhm.
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
you're going out
Yeah.
to assist.
And they know me, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And even the ones that don't know me now know my name.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
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 And, you know, it was interesting, I read in the paper about the automatic plan that they had up in Burlington, when the temperature got to a certain, you know, point, then they had these shelters that stood up, and then they ran the vans, got people there, and I don't know what the feeling of the group is that something that would be a good thing to push for in
Oh
our
my
area?
God.
Absolutely.
oh God,
More
I'm gonna start losing sleep about next week.
Yeah,
Until we
It's
have-
cold.
Yeah.
It's gonna get
Yeah.
below zero.
Yep.
It's coming again.
Yep.
Yeah, and,
Yep.
you know,
It's my
Good
vacation.
Shepherd's limited in its ability to be able to do that because of regulations.
Mhm.
Heading has put in sprinkler systems and done things to be part, but they've also constructed things differently than when they were doing this during the pandemic, so, they're reluctant to push the limits of their resources. I did write to Nicholas, but I don't have my phone with me right now, but I did write to him this afternoon and ask him, please, is there anything we can use the odd,
Mhm.
can we use the odd?
Yeah.
And I just, like, I also, you know, cause I'm not smart, I like asking questions that, you know, it's just like, well, what about Red Cross? Like, why can't this be considered emergency enough for Red Cross? Mhm.
They're not great with the homeless population.
There we go. Okay,
Not every single
is-
person, but
yeah,
during the big flood, when we all went to, not this last one, but the one before that, we all went to the Barre Auditorium.
I
It
slept there
was,
overnight,
yeah,
cause
oh yeah,
I had to leave my house,
Julie, myself,
yeah.
30 or maybe 40 homeless folks.
Mhm.
And we all slept there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in work road because my house was flooding, both times, every time. Yep, but I think they'll get better, maybe the more times this happens, sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
And did you have something?
I hope, yeah.
My work email, because we received an email that stated that there would be a shelter opened in Barre on the 22nd.
That's what I was gonna bring, it's on the.
Thank you.
Oh, sugar plums.
Isn't it?
The Salvation
Army.
Right,
Army.
Salvation Army's doing it.
Yes. Salvation
They're
Yeah.
gonna do overnight?
Yeah,
Oh.
Oh,
excellent.
I did not
Actually, the
glean that.
email isn't clear.
but
That email was
that's
not
on
clear.
Keith Ave, isn't it?
Not clear.
Yeah,
It's right
and
across
that's
from our
not
office.
Cause I was
That's
trying, you know,
gonna be
are they
an
doing it every day or just when it's and
Hold
just,
on.
what are the hours that they said?
Let's
It's
see,
like, it's Tuesday through Friday, I remember that part.
do you want me to read it?
Is it
Yeah.
only?
Well, I'll
for
do
weather or
the-
all the time?
Okay, so we can operate a warming center if the temperature is 20 degrees during our normal days in hours of operation, which are Tuesday through Friday, 10 AM to 2 PM. Please let me know if there's
Yeah.
anything
That's not over.
there, yeah, if there's anyone else we need to inform, we are more than grateful to be able to assist our community in this way.
I mean, I'm glad,
Well,
but
that's
that's the
nice.
same time as the
Libraries.
library too. Maybe it'll cover the folks that are not able to go to the library.
Maybe it'll just give the library a little bit of a break.
Yeah,
To be a library,
yep,
you know?
yeah.
So we
I'm also
still
gonna be
need
working with
something
them
for
on some
overnight.
signatures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I am really worried and Earl's gonna talk to Beth Ann Meyer to talk about what exactly is happening in Montpelier and if there's gonna be capacity there.
They're gonna need more volunteers.
Okay, this is an OSA test question. What do you estimate the number of people sleeping rough is?
In this town or in general?
Well,
I think for Barry, I mean, for the purposes of this meeting.
Yeah, it
for
would
the
be
purposes
better
of our,
for
this
Barry,
meeting, yeah.
Yeah. The last time that they did nighttime shelter space at Heading, I think they had 10 or so one night and then 7 or 8 the next night.
Yeah, I wanna say that there may have been some people at Good Shepherd, so I think
Right,
it
so
seems
like
to me that
maybe,
there was like
I know they had-
14 altogether.
I know they had 22 in the morning,
Mhm.
one of those days, but that was the morning time. It's getting the word out into the community, as in the homeless, the population, fast enough. And that can even be the same day. And then also like how many folks want to go to Montpelier, like some of our folks did go to Montpelier the next day. For folks that are actually sleeping rough in the city slash. Do we count Barre as a whole or do we say only Barre City?
For this purpose,
For
this purpose,
this is,
It's just that
Yeah.
area,
but
which is super handy.
454.
Yeah.
But the reality is,
Well,
if
anybody
something
out
was
there.
available, if we were
Yeah.
talking about having something available.
Yeah,
Then in my mind, I get it, for this meeting, we're
Right.
purely
For
Berry
sure,
City, but if
yeah, no,
we
I-
are trying to say, we need to
Yeah.
be able to accommodate, say, 20. Because
Yeah.
folks from Berrytown will come in, or
Yes.
East Montpelier, or
Yeah,
whatever.
Right.
And
You
they
know.
float back and forth too,
Yeah.
like where they kind of
Yeah.
get
It does,
started,
it
who's where and where they're comfortable.
I mean, pit count's coming up on the 22nd, so you'll have we'll have a really good number then. Because it does ebb and flow so much, it's hard for my brain to track it for you because I don't have it written down in a physical space. But I would say easily that there's 20 people staying only outside or in a house that is really not meant to be lived in.
yeah,
Got it.
so that's been the
Which are colder,
consistent
by the
number.
way.
Okay.
That's been the
Yeah.
consistent, like 24 has been the,
Yeah.
ever since I started doing this job, that's what I've been
Oh.
hearing is that the
At least in the
real
winter, yeah,
severely,
but
Yeah.
yeah,
not summertime.
not summertime.
Yeah.
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 Well, I mean, long term, I had one thought that maybe we could break out into subcommittees and have one that kind of focuses on pushing for better and more appropriate housing and one that
Yeah.
focuses on serving the folks that really desperately, need a voice.
And the community.
But since it's the middle of the winter and we got this weather coming, this kind of seems to eclipse
Yeah,
anything really.
this is definitely trial by fire.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't we have a housing committee? Cause there was one for a while.
I do, yeah. So I lead the housing task force.
Or, sorry,
And yeah, the housing, but it's not a city council
Oh, it's not.
appointed
Okay.
committee. But we do, I mean, the city asks us to take on things, like we took on working out, hammering out everything about a revolving loan fund for people, and so there was that, and now we're being charged with working on, there was an infill study done by the Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission, and so now, so we worked with them to refine it, so that now we know in Barre, pretty much where there's a possible place to add on, build, and so now, how do we let people know about that? How do we do outreach and communication and maybe do some kind of canvassing around? Is this a good time to start thinking about an expansion or whatever? And how do you do that? So that's what we do. But we also talk about homelessness. I mean, we talk about the whole spectrum of housing in that. But so I was just saying that just to say that that's us working with the city council, very much like this committee, but we just don't happen to be appointed by the city because it was formulated out of the All in for Barre Vermont Council on Rural Development meeting and focus. So we were one of the three things that came out of that meeting.
Yeah,
That people
well,
wanted.
I'm glad you're on that.
Yeah, so I can always bring that here too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Would it make sense at some point, and I'm not talking about like next month, but for us to ask that committee to join us for one of our committee meetings to talk about any crossover as opposed to us taking on tasks that they're doing?
Yeah, sure.
Or that should go there maybe, or whatever?
It's a bigger group, generally, and, so I think we could, there'd probably be a few people that would say, yeah, I'll do
Okay.
that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so, what do you think? Do you think that we should, form subcommittees to take on things outside of,
I don't think we're
between
big
meetings?
enough from.
But you know what, I will say though, sorry, I'm not even on the committee. But I will say that, I think it's really nice to have, subcommittees that, because this is an opportunity to invite other people to
Mhm.
participate that are not necessarily a voting member.
Yeah, and you can also be more nimble with that, because it's my understanding they don't need to be warned. You can just meet,
Yeah, you just report here.
yeah. Yeah,
I think it will depend on if we have like some task oriented stuff where,
yeah,
gee, it makes sense for two or three of us to get together and really hash this out to present at the next meeting or.
mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think and there is a lot of value, in pulling other people from the community and for that,
Mhm.
that becomes,
Mhm.
a proving ground for, with that person, when, as committees, move over, or, turnover, that, there's a person that's been doing some of the work and might be.
I'm
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to hold it in.
No, I do the same thing. I'm like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
Was a yawn. I was like,
Oh,
no.
no, oh, yeah.
What do you think would be the best way for us to find out about bills that are moving through the legislature that affect housing and funding available for that? Talk to our reps, talk to.
Teddy's gonna probably have a very, big, interest, even though he's on the, Ways and Means Committee. I think he's probably gonna have a big interest in it. He's also the, I think he's a co-chair of the flood caucus.
Yes.
Which is also touches on this
Right,
greatly.
so one of us should buddy up with
So-
him.
Yeah,
In
Okay.
terms of getting like sort of the latest, if you're interested in just sort of being informed, if you go to HHAV, which is
yeah.
Housing and Homeless Alliance of Vermont, which used to, anyway, it used to be something else. It's a merged
Yeah, it used to
organization
be
now.
homeless
Yeah,
and housing, and
yes,
then they
and
put
so
it
it's,
together.
it's together.
Mhm.
We have meetings once a month which are open. You can't vote if you're not a voting, but you can attend them and see what's going on. But the reality is they very much are involved legislatively and will give you more of what I think we're looking for, which is how does this affect like either municipalities or nonprofits who are offering services and those kinds of things.
Okay,
Things like zoning reform, things that might be in the works and might be happening. So I would suggest going to their website and clicking that you just want to be on the listserv and you're just gonna get the announcements. You don't have to attend anything, but you're gonna get to be a little more in the know.
and that's hhav.org.
Yeah,
I'll look it up. I think it's .org.
okay.
Okay,
And we could also make sure you get an email on it, email it to everybody. Yeah, it's really good. And the meetings, are usually an hour and a half, one Monday morning a month. So it's not a heavy lift to, and it's all Zoom.
okay. So, do we all feel like we could pick out a few goals to start with for now?
I just wrote down a few things from my work.
Okay.
I thought maybe I'd throw some things out, not just, because I think you were gonna have me do a report or something at some point. So one of the, so this is in no particular order, but I was just making these notes as everybody was talking. So I wanna, kind of amplify what Osa said about, working with the Montpelier Homelessness Task Force. They're
Mhm.
really,
Mhm.
Meredith has been waiting for us to start this,
Okay.
this.
Yeah.
So, you know, it might be good. And Beth, are you gonna chair?
I think
that's another, we have to
we-
vote on that.
Okay.
Talk about that soon. Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, you know, it'd just be really good to have, you know, it's just, we share people, back and forth in our communities and,
Mhm. Yeah.
so there's that. And then, and I talked about the housing task force, trainings. That was the other thing, because
Mm.
the three of us talked about trainings yesterday, that I don't know if that would
Like in
be,
general homelessness trainings.
yeah.
So I don't know how many Good Sam has, because I'm not in charge of that.
All
But
right, they've got a
they
license for
use-
so many, right?
yeah, they have a link to so many trainings. They use the Ryan Dowd, maybe, or Dowd, trainings. He was a, director of a homeless shelter in a larger city than this is. I don't remember where. And there's a bunch load of trainings on there of like how to do good de-escalation skills with the homeless population, which can be different than everything else. And like how to make good connections with folks, and he uses like pennies in a cup method, which I can't personally stand, but I have a lot of views on his training, so I'm gonna keep those to myself right now. My words coming out of my mouth faster than I can think them. But that was one of the things with the library that we wanted to share. And so I'm working closely with Kristen to
Yes,
yeah,
Kristen.
to share that information and maybe start some trainings with them. If we can, I need to talk to Julie and find out how many folks we can share it with, because they pay for them. But yeah, doing some training and seeing just good interaction side of things, and maybe even we can do it with the public, but I don't know. To share the linkage and have like a larger group. Here's what the homelessness actually is versus what
What they think it is.
stigma tells
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and there are all kinds of online sources, like SAMHSA has some great webinars and trainings, like
Yeah.
fantastic.
Mhm.
SAMHSA. Okay, SAM, I should just look at my email, because I got something from them. HSA, I'm just, because I have to look at it to tell you exactly what it means.
Yeah.
It is Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Mhm.
And they really put out some excellent products, including just flyers and things that you can hang up in your workspaces in terms of
Yeah.
dealing with that. And I find it to be very relevant in this particular work.
Mhm.
Because we're most often dealing with like co-occurring disorders and all kinds of other things going on. So
Yeah,
they're pretty good.
Yeah.
okay,
All right,
so I know we got a late start today, but I don't wanna keep anybody here after 6. Oh, I'm sorry, Beth. Go ahead.
Okay, so, meeting next Thursday, everybody got an email about, having lunch next Thursday and furthering that work. If there's I'm just gonna say, if there's anything you wanna make sure gets talked about at that meeting, just shoot me an email. I'm very excited about getting everybody together
Do you
again.
think talking about the atmosphere right now in Barre is a good idea for that meeting? Because I feel like it might be. You will be taught, we'll be, what do we say, like preaching to the choir. I mean, those will be folks who are
Mhm.
interested in affecting a
Right.
solution, but there'll be more voices at that table in terms of what type
Right.
of solution might work.
Mhm.
Okay,
And the safety in the work, in the interaction is.
Yeah. And you'll definitely open a can of worms and chaos, but I think it's a really important, just like they had the safety meeting the other day.
Mhm.
It could have been worse, but it was good that it happened.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that we all talk about it as one group as well.
Well, it's just, and the thing is that we do need to talk about safety issues, like with the warming center. Like, Osa was telling me, and, it's like, you don't think of it, but, we have blankets and a bed, and people are, taking naps and they're in all various phases of cleanliness and
Existing in general.
and just, yeah, everything in general. And, so we shouldn't be handling anything unless we have gloves on,
Mhm.
if, no.
Basic safety,
No, yeah.
which if you're in the work, you know a little bit more about, but if you
Yeah,
don't do it all
but
the
if you don't
time, you don't
yeah, if you're just
necessarily.
a church lady that's coming down and
Yeah.
volunteering.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and then, I talked about the cold next week, and
Yeah.
we still don't have any
I
solution.
think we need to loop back to that again.
We'll look back,
too.
yeah, I think that's the most important. And then I just wanted to report on the porta potty.
Oh, yeah.
So this committee, the last iteration of this committee worked very hard to try to get porta potties around the city for people, and they got some good headway, and they got put in the budget to have two. And then we had a person who died in a porta potty, and it just kind of gave people a pause. But Pastor Ray from the Heading Methodist Church said, I think, I've talked to my people here, and I think we have a spot to put one that's,
Nice.
so it's near the park, but it's also a little secluded. It's along the building of the Heading Church. There's an alleyway there, and next to that is the housing authority. So it's there for now, but they think that when the weather gets better, they're gonna do one. And it's not an accessible one because or fully accessible because of the spot. It's not big enough. They brought one and we couldn't make it work, but they believe that they are gonna be able to find a better spot on the church property next, in the spring.
Yeah, cool.
So there's
Great
that.
news.
The other spot that we have talked about putting one, and that probably will also happen in the spring, is behind Tally. And in Merchants Row, there's that little building that I think is doing some soil mitigating.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a little hut building. And there's parking spaces, like they're sort of talking about putting one in a parking space right next to that.
Cool.
I think
Perfect.
that in tandem with the idea of better lighting back there and cameras will be a good thing. Yeah, and it's back and forth, right? I'm always of
Oh,
both
yeah,
minds
both
about
minds.
about cameras.
It's good in a lot of ways. and
Yeah,
There's not the whole side.
so, kudos to the committee for putting that together and that's happening. I think that's it. I mean, there'll always be stuff. So if you want to know, with the warming center, we've been seeing anywhere from 14 to 20 people now. It's just like shot up after the cold weather.
Sure.
But I mean, after the really bad cold weather, because we were not getting, it was cold before Christmas, but we were not getting those people, but now, as so many people, but now people are getting to know about it and, not everybody's homeless. We've got
No.
some people that are
That's
just,
good.
and it's really good. I always think that's really good, like Charles comes over from Tilden House and so-and-so comes over from, they're just, it's a place where they can be and they can be whoever they want to be. There, that's, Keith and I call it Switzerland. We know that
Nice.
we know that we had somebody who probably was being looked for and we're like, down here, that's none of our business. Unless it becomes a problem for the people there.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah, thanks. Yeah, so it's 6 o'clock now, we do need to elect officers, and
What's the
And-
requirement for officers?
Dan, you had something about a.
I mean,
public
like
forum.
in terms of numbers of officers or anything.
Oh, we need a chair, a vice chair, and somebody to clerk. So like 60% of our committee's
Yeah.
gonna be an officer. But Dan, what were you gonna talk about with the forum? What was your feeling on what kind of? forum?
Probably let's discuss that at the next meeting. I
Okay.
think, we just had the forum this week too.
Right.
And I think, Tess and I were talking kind of as a follow-up to the one that happened at the church back in the fall, right? That I think kind of Mayor Lozon
Yeah.
kind of pulled together. And while that was, interesting to attend, it was mostly focused on airing the grievances, which we've all heard, you know? And I think if we can think about maybe, you know, later in the spring, when the weather gets a little bit better, a public forum where we can talk more about solutions and also, yeah, what's already happening on the ground. too.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, have an educational component there too, and not just a forum to complain.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'd like for us to talk more about just like really blitzing the media,
Yeah.
social media, just get something out there
Yeah.
about, there's a lot of good people doing a lot of good work around this.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think part of that too is, and what I started to hear, what I was hearing in that meeting here and there, and I think there's probably more of it out there, but, giving people concrete opportunities, for how they can help.
Great, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like being really explicit, so there's no questions about what it is they're being asked to do, and it's, and, you know, so
Yeah.
that it's in their comfort zone.
Mhm. Okay, so that's pretty much the list. So anybody want to be chair?
I nominate Beth to be chair.
I second that.
I thought Ann wasn't gonna be here and we could just make her do whatever. You think, can we pass chair around? Or is that not done?
I just think it's like if you can't be here, someone else can
Yeah.
facilitate and do things.
Yeah.
I mean, and that could be anybody, right?
Mhm.
No, there's a vice chair.
There's a
There's
vice
a vice
chair.
chair.
Yeah.
Vice chair. And how about you?
Hey, Jay. I don't mind being one or the other.
Okay, you wanna be chair?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'll be chair.
I think we have to do the
And then we
thing.
need a clerk.
We also
we
have
have
to
to follow-
actually do the follow.
Do we have
the
to follow
procedure.
Robert's rules?
I
Alright,
don't know
so-
how to do that, so somebody is gonna have to educate me, Tess, who does know how to do it.
Oh, yeah, I know how to do it. So we
I-
need
I
a
do as
motion
well.
to nominate Ann as chair, and there'll need to be a second, and then there's
I'll
discussion.
second.
Wait,
There's a
there's not a
second.
motion yet.
Oh, sorry. I'll make a motion to have Ann become the chair of the committee.
I'll second.
Second, any discussion or all
No,
those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Done.
that's it.
cool.
Okay, then we need a vice chair or a co-chair.
Vice chair. Isn't it vice? We
It's
have,
vice-
Yeah, vice
yeah, so
chair.
vice chair is next, yeah.
anybody?
I'm happy to be the vice chair or the clerk, but if someone else wants to jump up, I just know I don't have the capacity to be the chair and, you know, I just know my workload and so,
Great.
yeah.
Capacity to do either.
Yeah.
Happy. when
We're all
someone-
stretched to our limits already, yeah.
To be part of this meeting.
What?
I mean, okay, wait, I would wanna be part of this meeting anyways, but since I'm the city like liaison, like I have to be here.
Mm,
So why don't I just do the clerking notes?
Oh,
Oh,
How about
good.
yeah.
Yay.
you still have to do the
I'm
thing.
just saying I'm gonna be here every single one, but,
Somebody else can.
No.
but yeah.
But yeah, we still have
Went to
What
the
about
vice
vote?
chair.
3 more times. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I nominate Dan for vice
Oh,
chair.
okay.
Okay, second,
That's
All those
seconds.
in favor? Or not so in
Any
favor, or
discussion?
discussion, yeah.
Did you wanna give a speech?
No, but I'm gonna abstain from this vote, so.
Fair enough. All in favor?
Oh, I don't know what
Are you
abstaining
abstaining?
is.
Are you abstaining, Ann?
Nope.
No, you have to have a plurality of votes.
Yeah, so
Oh.
we
So
we have to
you have
vote.
to vote. No, you
I
don't
don't
have to
have
vote.
to vote, yeah.
You could, but no, but
Yeah.
because of that, everybody else has to vote.
Oh, thank you.
okay,
Okay.
great, so we
Yeah,
got that
okay.
settled.
Do we have
Did we
that in
actually-
the notes? Who made the motion, who seconded?
Oh my
and
god, I
all
have
were-
all that in the notes?
Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
because it's an official action.
Holy, okay, wait, let's.
I do know, I don't, I mean, I'm not a guru, but I know
So-
Robert's rules and you have to be
Dan,
actually, you
nominated.
have to be.
If nothing else.
Taking note of the official action.
Okay.
That's
That's
the
right.
biggest.
Dan, so Dan nominated.
And,
Dan, yeah.
All right.
Yep,
and Beth
then-
seconded.
Okay, Beth seconded. Sorry about that.
it'll get more fun as we
And then
go.
it passed.
Okay,
No, no.
Unanimous.
I'll just say.
And there's a template on the city website for the minutes.
Mm.
That's
Okay.
what this is.
I'll learn those.
Yeah.
Brooke, I have lots of experience if you wanna kinda connect and I can kinda walk you through it. a little bit. So, yeah. I've been covering select, I spent my twenties as a reporter covering select board.
Oh, for
meetings.
goodness sake.
Oh, my God, you know,
So
yeah,
you've got that.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then the next vote
Okay,
was
and then the next vote was for vice, did we write that one?
Right? And
Did you write down that?
I am not.
I nominated Dan,
Beth
A
seconded.
second.
Beth seconded. And all were in favor,
Dan abstained.
But Dan
and
abstained.
Dan abstained.
What does abstain mean? I know.
Just
it
means
says-
you're
Step
you're not
away.
taking a vote, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Usually
thank you.
because there's a conflict or something, you know, so.
It's usually, yeah, like
Yeah.
a conflict, or like if you weren't here for the last meeting, you might
Right.
abstain from voting on the minutes because you weren't here to know what happened.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So I would
Uh,
love, in this committee to do the communications, if we feel that we wanna put stuff out there, like I'll get the Google workspace set up for us to keep
Cool.
everything nice and organized.
Cool.
And,
All those in favor of having Brooke be clerk?
Can we nominate you as
Oh,
that
can
if you're
we?
the
Oh,
city
yeah.
person? If you're the city person?
Oh, I don't know. if that
The
happens.
reality could be that you take notes for us and help us out, but
Right, let's
I
do
think
that.
we,
Have to have it first.
So we'll have to have a person who just reviews the work of Brooke and, why don't we do that?
Okay.
right, because you
plug it
said you
into
do
the
some of the
template.
other organizational
Yeah,
stuff, so.
okay. Yeah,
All right,
that'll work.
so wait, do we
So-
have to?
Yes,
do
we have
all
to
the-
Yeah.
nominate.
All those in favor of, nope, not me because I constantly forget people's names.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a thing.
No, you're gonna nominate Beth.
Some,
I'll move that, we nominate Beth as the clerk of the committee.
I'll
Yeah, that's
second.
one. Yeah.
And you just-
And now Anne, because you're
yes.
the chair, you have to call the question.
Oh.
I have to call the what?
The
Question. So you have to say, all those in favor?
All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
All good.
okay,
Good,
Cool.
that was
yay, we got
unanimous.
that done.
Wow, that was some
Sorry
great work.
about that.
Good job, team.
So I'm happy to begin looking at, what our communications options are, maybe we issue a press release like early next week, just saying who the chair and everyone, announcing
Yeah.
that we've kind of
Like,
organized.
hi.
Yeah, and then start talking to some partners about some educational op-eds and, to line up, so if everyone's okay with me kind of taking that, you know,
Yeah.
Are you
okay.
gonna be able to go to the lunch meeting on Thursday?
I'm gonna try if I can get someone to cover a staff meeting for me.
Yeah, and even if you can only come for half an hour, I would just love for you to talk about that at the meeting,
Oh,
and,
sure.
and too, cause I know you're going, you signed up already.
I did, but that is, I just got subpoenaed into court.
Oh.
sorry.
Well, as the
So,
vice chair of the
I will
committee, I'll be with
Hey,
them.
Alright.
But it
Yeah,
maybe look like my supervisor is going instead, so let me just see how that's.
Okay,
okay,
great.
great, so between you two, we can have somebody talk about this committee just a little bit, and that would be great to talk about. It
Just in terms of gathering information, I'm currently a co-chair of our local housing coalition, which is across the county and not just Barre. But I do think in terms of gathering the information to educate on what is already happening,
Mhm.
I mean, anecdotally, I think a lot of us can sort of rattle some of it off, but we do have a conduit to grab that information and to ask for it and to pull it in.
Great.
Wonderful.
And the only other thing I would think about too is, making sure that we stay on top of the counts.
Pit count
The monthly counts,
or month
not
account?
just the monthly counts, and then of course the pit count too. So that you're just kind of aware of trends as they're happening.
And I would say in terms of unsheltered, our best bet in terms of what it's looking like out there, whether there's been an increase or a decrease is OSA.
Mhm.
Your boots on
I
the
agree
ground.
with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your boots on the
Yeah.
ground. So I don't even know that we have to go outside the committee to just gather the
Okay,
sort of like where the winds are blowing and what's happening out there.
yeah,
So would it be helpful at all after the meeting if I send out a follow-up email just with some of the things that we've talked about, where we can kind of give it a little bit more thought, because we do need to come up with a mission statement.
Oh, yeah.
some sort, and we can all think about that.
Does anybody, you're gonna set up the Google Drive for us,
Right.
and, does anybody wanna take an initial thought so that we can all then just go into the Google Drive and make edits and suggestions, and then when we come to the next meeting, we can have a little bit more of an idea?
Yeah,
great
somebody
idea.
have been,
Yeah.
like, okay,
Cause we can't just take an hour, a
No.
month and
Yeah.
get this work done, so we're gonna have to be
No.
doing
Oh,
some.
yeah.
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 You know, some of the previous, like charge of the committee and kind of bullets, some of that actually looks a lot like my job description, so I can send that.
Okay.
You can say what.
That would be good.
that,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
yeah, that would be great.
Maybe you can send it and then it can be put on the Google Drive for us to like all take. a
Yeah.
look at.
Yeah. And do we wanna try and do anything with, a full court press with this cold weather coming along?
You know, I just at a loss with when I get stopped with, we don't have a facility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That nobody can think of a facility, nobody can open up their church, and if they do open up their church, they have to talk to the city and state fire marshal, and that takes time.
Yeah.
And,
One of the things I wonder about, it has to be the state fire marshal as well, and not just the city. 'Cause one of the
well, the
things,
city makes that call, if they should bring in the state or not.
I just feel like if we just elevate it saying, you know, I get that everybody's got, we all have full-time plus 4 full-time jobs that you're doing in one. Jobs, but I just feel like this is a humanitarian crisis in the making, you know, whatever, 6 days from now. Like, maybe it's just like we make that case to folks now, maybe something can be done to
Yeah.
get somebody out to wherever if we can identify a space.
Yeah, I
God
feel
would be
really
easy.
bad that I didn't bring my phone so that I can look up and see if Nicholas answered me, but I did, like I said, I did say, is there any way at all?
Yeah,
we
would
can
you
use
feel
the
comfortable
BOR?
sharing that with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, one thought I had is I'm also a member of Barre Rotary and I am the chair of their service project committee, and I'm trying to get Barre Rotary to do more work like this. As opposed to some of the other work that I kind of see as benefiting people who are already very comfortable. It's not out of the question that if we do need to round up some more volunteers for these shelters, that I could, you know, appeal to Rotary, and get some folks, you know, who
Yeah.
are, some of them who are retired and have some flexibility too, you know, so, yeah.
So, along those lines, is Nicole DiDomenico, is she still the head of the, outreach program for Norwich?
I think, no, she's at the
No.
beginnings now.
And she just
She's at
left
the
there.
beginning-
Oh, she just left there?
I just got, or maybe she's leaving next week. I just got a notice that one of the board members is taking that position and
That's too
she's
bad.
leaving. So I don't know where she went, but she left there
Yeah.
too.
I'll have to
just
connect with her.
recently.
I
The
love her.
reason I ask is I thought
That's
that
great.
for this overnight stuff, this would be great for Norwich cadets.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But it would be
They-
great
they won't be-
for the homeless population.
Oh,
Well, they don't always get all military out, do they? I mean,
I
there's
don't know.
only people in the homeless population who are
That are
former
vets,
yeah,
military.
yeah.
But,
Yeah.
And it's not just their civilian population there also is
Yeah.
part of that outreach as
Yeah.
well. So, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, I mean, it just seems to me that, you know, it's, they're age appropriate in terms of,
Yeah.
they're not minors. Don't wanna see any minors, coming in and doing this work anymore.
No, please, no more children at the warming space.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
like, was it Spalding students or something like that?
No,
it's
it's people's
more
children.
complicated.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, not homeless, it was actually
No, it was
volunteers.
yeah,
volunteers.
yeah, so I
Children.
wouldn't, I
You
wouldn't
know.
bring children. Yeah,
And,
so, yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah,
not,
totally.
it's not a, project. It's not a,
Yeah.
It also
But-
shows, I mean, it shows that these volunteers have a family and that they can see their family.
Yeah.
And folks experiencing homelessness, a lot of them have a family and they can't see their family anymore.
Yeah.
Like one of my folks was just talking about how it was like a few weeks ago, it was his son's 17th birthday and he hasn't been able to see his son since he was 7 months old.
Yeah.
And there's a teenager downstairs with a family and it was
Yeah.
really, really bothering him. And
Really
it was
hard.
Christmas time and they were talking
Yeah.
about Christmas things and it
Yeah.
was really, really
Yeah.
hard.
yeah.
Not in a
you see-
loving environment.
So just
Yeah, and it's just, you know, it's
Being really
not,
mindful and all that.
it's just people, yeah, and there needs to be an awareness, and when this is brought forward, then it's gotta stick, right?
Mhm.
Like, okay, you know, no, we get it, it was totally, you didn't think of that, but we have experts that do think of that, and we just can't allow it. That kind of,
Right,
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that Julie brought out when I was talking to her about, you know, the frustration of the cold weather and how Burlington handles it and how we don't handle it. She said that their population up at the Elks goes down because, you know, some of their more difficult people prefer to go to places that are more liberal and less rules. So, which means you're gonna get more challenging behaviors.
But it also doesn't, because the second that they come to that space, we let Rhonda know who's managing the warming shelter, and she's gonna come and get them. We don't, the Good Sam folks don't want folks skipping into other shelter spaces if necessary. Not to cut you off, and I totally did, I'm sorry. It's just
Yeah.
that's what's going on with the UU.
So Rana will retrieve them?
Yeah.
Wow,
Oh,
I didn't mean to cut.
so
you off.
proud.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Yeah, so, but it still leaves us as, you know, do we have a facility, and then can we quickly mobilize?
And then there's the staffing of the
And then there's
facility.
the staffing
I
of the
mean,
facility itself. Yeah,
just opening it up is like half the battle.
right, it's,
Right.
you know, it's, you know, I mean, even if we were gonna do it at Heading Church, somebody from Heading Church had to be
Yes.
there. Yeah, definitely.
And they
And,
have limits.
And it would be the same thing if we tried to use the odd, that there would have to be somebody from city staff there. I don't think I qualify as full-on city staff to actually be a steward of the odd. I'm positive I wouldn't.
Hmm.
You know, because that's not what I do. And so there's gonna, you know, there would have to be that kind of staff there, I would imagine.
And I think before, when we had these discussions, I happened to be in the room with Nick when something like this came up, I think it was last year. And they were reluctant for lots of reasons, but to make that first step of opening it up during inclement weather that wasn't, say, a flood or something. Because it sets a precedent that it can be done and that, you know, it's good.
Right,
I forget what he said, but in essence, it was like, this could be a really slippery slope that we're not sure that the city wants to get into.
yeah. Yeah, but I
Do you
think we
know
have to lean on the humanitarian.
Yes,
act.
yes.
The cots and the things that they used, like when you got evacuated for the flood, are they up there or does the Red Cross?
I don't
bring those
know.
in?
It's all Red Cross.
I guess.
Oh,
All
okay.
handled by Red Cross.
All right.
Yep. Yep. And by the way, folks are, I mean, like, it's definitely nicer to sleep on a cot if that's where you, like, if you're mobility wise, the space that you need to sleep on, but many folks are just really happy just to be inside and
Inside.
make their own nest in their space and
Yeah.
just bed down.
It's
Yeah,
good to know.
Yeah.
And I also think that if it was something we were able to assist with somehow. In the city, I guess, because it's not like me personally or you personally, just even having those foldable
Yeah,
mats,
I have
you know,
to-
so that there's something.
Yeah.
You know, not, it doesn't have to, and they're
So there you
easier
go.
to store, they're smaller, you know, all of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, the high school has them, you know. 'cause
The
I just-
odd probably has them.
Oh, that's true, the odd probably
Yeah.
does have them.
Mhm.
You
I
know, the
have-
ones that
I
you put
have
through a
two
gym. Yeah,
at, I bought two for Good Shepherd for the.
Yeah.
Warming Center.
yeah.
Okay, well, maybe this is a good stopping point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll keep you,
Yeah,
apprised of any,
keep the conversation going on this.
yeah, of anything I hear. I am so excited that you all are together. And thank you, Anne, for
It's a pretty
stepping
good
up. to
team.
share.
Yeah.
Our fearless leader.
I think, yeah, I have to, is there, I'll make a motion to adjourn at 6:20 PM.
Seconded.
Aye,
Aye, yay.
Thank you all.
thank you.
I wrote it down that time.
Oh, let me do this. Thank you for letting me borrow that. I want your phone case. Just looking at it going, oh my God, I love it.
Yeah,